The music world is reeling from shocking news. Arnel Pineda, lead singer of the legendary rock band Journey, has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole by a San Francisco court. The Filipino vocalist once captivated millions with his incredible rags to riches story after joining Journey in 2007. Now, a career once hailed as a symbol of resilience and inspiration has ended in scandal and heartbreak. Once a hero who inspired millions, he is now at the center of one of the most serious scandals in modern music history. According to veteran journalist Maria Rodriguez, this is not just the downfall of an individual, but the collapse of a cultural icon. What was once seen as proof of the power of dreams has now become a sobering lesson about the dark side of fame. A new chapter begins, haunting and filled with regret. Before we begin, if you're interested in shocking stories from the entertainment world and want to uncover the truth behind the spotlight with us, don't forget to hit like, share the video, and leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our compelling stories. Now let's dive into today's story. Having followed Journey since their early days, Rodriguez noted that the truly staggering part wasn't just the severity of the sentence, it was how fast everything unraveled. The initial accusations emerged just as Journey was enjoying a massive career resurgence, selling out arena tours and attracting a new generation of fans through streaming platforms and television ads. A source close to the band revealed that their upcoming world tour was canceled immediately, with millions in ticket sales now being refunded. As the music industry struggles to process the shocking verdict, the financial fallout is immense, revealed a senior executive at Live Nation who asked to remain anonymous. But far more devastating is the human toll, not just on band members and crew who suddenly lost their livelihoods, but most importantly on the victims whose lives were forever changed by these actions. For those unfamiliar with the whirlwind case that dominated headlines for months, the downfall of Arnel Pineda began with what initially appeared to be a minor legal complaint. However, as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered what prosecutors described as a pattern of predatory behavior carefully hidden behind the inspirational public persona fans had embraced worldwide. Before fully grasping the gravity of Arnel's crimes, we must first revisit his extraordinary rise to fame, a story so unbelievable it seemed destined for Hollywood. Born into poverty in Manila, Arnel spent years homeless, sleeping in parks and scraping by performing in small clubs across the Philippines. His voice was his only asset, recalled former bandmate Roger Santos. When everything else in his life was falling apart, he could still sing with this incredible power and emotion. It was like hearing Steve Perry reborn in the body of this tiny Filipino man who had never caught a break in life. That all changed in 2007 when Journey's guitarist Neil Schon discovered YouTube videos of Pineda performing stunningly accurate Journey covers. Eager to replace their departed singer Steve Perry, the band took an unprecedented gamble on an unknown vocalist from halfway around the world. It was the ultimate fairy tale, noted music historian Dr. James Wilson. This homeless kid from Manila suddenly became the frontman of one of America's most beloved rock bands, playing arenas and bringing fans to tears. At first, there were skeptics about anyone filling Perry's shoes, but Pineda's early performances with the band were electrifying. You could feel the audience shift from doubt to awe in real time. Pineda's integration into Journey seemed to rejuvenate the band. In 2008, their album Revelation went platinum, and their tours consistently ranked among the world's top grossing. A documentary, Don't Stop Believin', Every Man's Journey, chronicled Pineda's astonishing story, further solidifying his image as the ultimate underdog success. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting content. What made Arnel so beloved wasn't just his voice. It was, as former tour manager Michael Chen explained, his humility, his gratitude, his seemingly endless appreciation for the opportunity he'd been given. He never seemed to take a single moment for granted. That carefully cultivated image now lies in ruins, shattered by revelations that have left fans worldwide struggling to reconcile the inspiring figure they thought they knew with the predator described in court. The investigation began in 2022 when a former member of Journey's crew filed a civil lawsuit alleging that Pineda engaged in backstage misconduct during the band's 2019 tour. The initial complaint focused on verbal harassment and threats, but as the case developed, the allegations became increasingly disturbing. What began as a seemingly ordinary workplace complaint quickly escalated into something far more serious. Lead prosecutor Rebecca Williams explained that once news of the suit spread, more individuals came forward with eerily similar accounts spanning years, stories they'd feared sharing due to Pineda's power and influence in the industry. Prosecutors presented evidence that Pineda allegedly used his position to target vulnerable young women attending Journey concerts, especially in Asia and South America, where his celebrity status was particularly strong. Security staffer testified about a system where specific fans were identified and brought backstage under the guise of meeting the band. There was a code used by some members of the entourage, testified former security member James Martinez, describing specific terms. Those of us who facilitated these meetings convinced ourselves it was just typical rock behavior. But deep down, many of us knew something was wrong. Perhaps the most damning accusations came from several women who had been taken backstage as teenagers during Journey tours in the Philippines, where Pan was revered as a national hero. Their testimony described a pattern of manipulation, exploiting both their youth and their admiration for a man who embodied the ultimate success story in their impoverished communities. He told me he saw himself in me, that I had the same hunger for success he once had, testified one woman, identified only as Jane Doe. He told me he could help me escape poverty just like he did. I completely trusted him. He wasn't just a rocker to me. He was proof that someone like me could succeed despite all odds. As the allegations mounted, the remaining members of Journey found themselves in an impossible position. Initially, they issued a statement in support of Pan while calling for a thorough investigation. However, as the evidence piled up and more victims emerged, their stance became indefensible. An emotional testimony stunned the courtrooms. Keyboardist Jonathan Cain described the moment he realized the gravity of the situation. "We were presented with evidence that could not be ignored or explained away," Cain testified. "This wasn't a misunderstanding or a case of someone's words being twisted. What we saw and heard was brutal, completely at odds with the person we thought we knew." Neil Sean, who discovered Pan and changed the singer's life, appeared visibly shaken throughout the trial. In his brief testimony, Sean described the deep sense of responsibility he felt. "I brought Arnel into this world, into this level of fame and access," Sean stated. "Not a day goes by that I don't think about whether there was something I could have seen, something that might have stopped this." If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting content. Former Journey frontman Steve Perry, who largely avoided public comment about his replacements, broke his silence with a written statement read in court. "My heart breaks for everyone affected by these horrific actions," Perry's statement read. Journey's music has always been about hope, love, and perseverance. To learn that these songs were used to justify such harm is unspeakably devastating. The band announced Pan's immediate termination and pledged to establish a fund for victims, with a significant portion of royalties from Pan's era to be directed to organizations supporting survivors of sexual abuse. What turned the case from allegation to conviction was the overwhelming physical evidence presented by prosecutors, along with victim testimony. Digital forensic experts recovered deleted messages, photos, and videos from Pan's electronic devices, confirming victim accounts with disturbing detail. The case wasn't built on testimony alone. Criminal defense attorney Sarah Johnson, who observed the trial, explained prosecutors had location data, communication logs, and financial records that established a clear pattern of behavior the defense couldn't refute. Now let's continue to dive deeper into the story. Particularly damning were a series of journal entries recovered from Arnel Pineda's personal computer, in which he allegedly documented his encounters with fans in coded language. FBI analysts testified that the entries matched victim accounts with frightening accuracy, including descriptions of appearances and specific locations. "These weren't just the writings of a celebrity logging fan encounters," said FBI analyst Thomas Wilson. "They included explicit references to manipulation tactics, vulnerabilities, and methods to ensure silence. The calculated nature of these entries may be the most disturbing aspect of the evidence." Prosecutors also introduced financial records, showing payments to various individuals through a complex web of intermediaries. The payments matched the timeline of alleged incidents precisely. Former Journey business manager Robert Chen testified that he facilitated these payments, believing them to be goodwill gestures to fans or backstage support reimbursements. "I never questioned why the payments were made," Chen testified. "In the music industry, celebrities often pay people for various services with little explanation. Only in hindsight do I see how my actions enabled and concealed this behavior." Throughout the trial, Arnel Pineda maintained his innocence, with his defense team arguing that the allegations were misunderstandings or consensual interactions reframed through a modern lens. Attorney Michael Coleman described Pineda as a scapegoat for industry-wide behavior that was once accepted but is now condemned. Arnel Pineda rose from extreme poverty to global fame purely on the strength of his extraordinary talent and relentless work ethic. Coleman argued that Pineda had always been generous to fans, charities, and his community in the Philippines. The prosecution was trying to twist ordinary fan interactions into something sinister, based on selective evidence and testimony from individuals with financial motives. The defense emphasized Pineda's well-documented philanthropic efforts, including his charity foundation that provided educational opportunities for underprivileged children in Manila. They presented testimony from dozens of fans who described positive and respectful interactions with the singer over the years. Pineda himself took the stand, appearing far smaller and more vulnerable than his energetic stage persona. Speaking in English with a Filipino accent, he flatly denied the allegations. While acknowledging that fame sometimes led to complex situations with fans, Arnel Pineda denied the most serious charges. "I know what it feels like to have nothing, to be invisible," Pineda testified, his voice cracking with emotion. "I would never use my position to hurt anyone because I remember every day what it felt like to be powerless. These accusations go against everything I've stood for all my life." The jury, however, remained unconvinced. Deliberating just 11 hours, they delivered a guilty verdict on all major counts. When the verdict was read, Witnesses described Pineda collapsing into his chair, his small frame seeming to shrink further as the reality of his fate set in. "It was like watching someone physically transform," said courtroom reporter Diana Mitchell. The charismatic performer who once commanded stadium stages vanished in an instant, replaced by a broken man who appeared to age decades in mere seconds. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting content. The sentencing hearing 1 week later was equally dramatic. Several victims gave powerful statements describing how meeting Pineda had affected their lives and their relationship with the music they once cherished. "Journey songs were the soundtrack to every major moment in my life," one victim said. "Now those songs trigger panic attacks and flashbacks. He didn't just take my dignity and safety, he took the music that used to be my greatest comfort." Given the chance to speak before sentencing, Pineda rose slowly and addressed the court in a voice barely above a whisper, so different from the powerhouse instrument that had once filled arenas around the world. "I came from nothing," he began, "from sleeping in parks and singing to survive. Maybe success came too fast, too completely, for someone from my background to process properly. I never meant to harm anyone, but I realize harm was done, and for that, I am deeply sorry." Judge Eleanor Ramirez was unmoved by Pineda's statement. As she handed down the maximum prison sentence allowed by law, she condemned not just the severity of the crimes, but what she called a profound betrayal of the trust fans placed in you, people who saw in your story their own hopes for a better life. "Mr. Pineda," Judge Ramirez declared, "your journey from poverty to stardom inspired millions. That makes your actions all the more damaging, because you exploited the very people who saw you as a symbol of hope and possibility. The court finds your behavior to be calculated. The nature of your actions and the deep harm caused to numerous victims warrant the maximum penalty." As Pineda was led away in handcuffs from the courtroom, the music world he once conquered was left to grapple with the fallout from his downfall. Journey announced they would continue as a band with a new singer, though many in the industry questioned whether they could ever fully recover from the association with Pineda's crimes. For the millions of fans around the globe who embraced Pineda's inspirational story, the news has been especially hard to process. Social media has been flooded with expressions of shock, betrayal, and sorrow, not just for the victims, but for the loss of a story that once brought hope to so many. "I believed in Arnel," one longtime fan wrote in a viral post, "because his story proved that dreams could come true even in the most desperate circumstances. Finding out he used that very story to manipulate and harm others felt like losing faith in the idea that goodness could emerge from struggle." How do we reconcile inspiration with horror? Arnel Pineda's journey from the streets of Manila to San Quentin prison represents one of the most dramatic musical falls from grace. His story, once held up as proof that talent and perseverance could overcome any obstacle, now serves as a cautionary tale about the danger of unchecked power and the complicated reality behind seemingly perfect narratives. What makes this case especially tragic is how Pineda's circumstances became both his greatest asset and his weapon. Psychologist Dr. Rebecca Torres explained that his rise from poverty created a shield of goodwill that initially made the accusations against him seem implausible. Who could believe that someone who had suffered so much could cause others to suffer? The case has sparked industry-wide soul-searching about the systems that allow powerful figures to abuse their positions. Several major concert promoters have announced new protocols for backstage access and mechanisms for reporting misconduct. "This isn't just the crime of one man," explained industry analyst Jennifer Blake. it's forcing the entire industry to examine the culture that allowed this behavior to continue unchecked. What happens on tour, the mindset that touring has its own rules, has concealed serious wrongdoing for far too long. As for Journey's music itself, the future remains uncertain. Streaming services report significant drops in plays, while radio stations around the world have reduced or removed the band's songs from rotation. Songs that once represented hope and perseverance for generations of fans now carry painful associations that many find impossible to separate. Perhaps the most powerful reaction came from a victim who chose to remain anonymous. The saddest part is that "Don't Stop Believin'" used to be an anthem of hope and perseverance. Now, for me and many others, it's a reminder to question what and who we believe in. Some journeys aren't what we make them out to be. As the music world continues to process this shocking fall from grace, one thing remains clear. The story of Arnel Pineda will forever serve as a reminder that the most inspirational narratives can sometimes hide the darkest truths, and that no talent or compelling story places anyone above accountability. The boy from Manila who once sang for coins on the street now sings only behind prison walls. His remarkable voice has been silenced before the very world that once saw him as the ultimate symbol of triumph over adversity. If today's story made you reflect or touched your emotions, don't forget to hit like, share the video with those around you, and leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts. And remember to subscribe to the channel so you can keep following us through the next stories, where truth, fame, and tragedy are always intertwined. See you in the next video.